about the technical difficulties, but I'm a teacher at Piano Trends Music and Band Company. This is a free beginner piano lesson sponsored by the Make Music Chicago Day. Since it has moved virtual due to COVID-19, I am going to be giving an online beginner's lesson. It is going to be kind of a hybrid of what I would normally do in a young beginner piano lesson with some older things tacked on in there. But once again, my name is Corrin Littlefield. I am a flute and piano instructor at Piano Trends Music and Band Company, which is located in Crystal Lake, Illinois. They are offering in-person and online lessons. Got a little poster here. There's more information if you go to their website, all of that fun stuff. Like I said, tack that up there. Perfect. I am a flute and piano instructor at Piano Trends. I graduated from Millikan University with my degree in instrumental music education in May of 2019. I have played flute since I was in 5th grade and piano from a little bit before that. I have tons of experience, and I actually took piano lessons when I was at Piano Trends when I was a kid. So it's kind of come full circle, which is a lot of fun. So that's a little bit about me. And like I said, today's lesson is brought to you by Piano Trends Music and Band, more formally or less formally known as Piano Trends. At Piano Trends, we provide lessons in piano, guitar, voice, all band, all string, and ukulele. We have tons of other teachers. I'm actually going to post the link to the staff, so you can go ahead and check that out, see what staff members might be a good fit for you if you're interested in lessons. We have people that teach everything. So the other thing I want to talk about before we get started is the book that I'm using. So I am using the Faber Piano Adventures book. This is the primer level book. That I own this book. This book is mine. And currently they are offering, Piano Trends is offering a discount if you order this book because of Make Music Day. I'm going to provide you the link for that also. If you're interested in that book, it is 20% off right now. You order it online. And once again, this is the book that I use for young beginners. I will talk about other books for adult beginners and older beginners. Older beginners typically meaning teenagers or so. They all move at different paces. So this is the book that I will be using. Like I said, I do own the book. I will be referencing page numbers as we go along, just so if you want to go back and learn a little bit, you definitely can and review. The other thing before we get started is you can sign up for online lessons. It's a request form on the website. I'm also going to provide you the link for that right now. If you are interested in taking online lessons, you can fill this form out and then they will get back in touch with you. You can also send an email to info@pianotrends.com, or you can call us at 815-477-4266. So you can fill out the request form, you can send an email, you can give a phone call, whatever works best for you. If you are interested in taking lessons with me at the end of this, you can of course request me or request any of the other teachers that you read about on the staff page. Just let them know when you get there what you're thinking, and then they will try their best to work you into our crazy schedules, especially with everything going on in the world right now. But without further ado, here is our beginner piano lesson. Once again, Piano Adventures Faber primer book. There are 3 books that happen before this one. This one is my favorite to start with. It works great for young beginners, and it works slowly but at a good pace. There are other things that I prefer about this book that we will talk about as we go, because obviously there are different publishers that do different books, but this one is my favorite. Okay, first things first. How do we sit at the piano? So sometimes we're going to have pianos that are like this. This is a grand piano. We might have an upright. We might have an electric piano, a keyboard, very different types of pianos. So regardless of where you're at, you always want to sit nice and tall. So you want your back to be straight, your feet, if possible, flat on the floor. In my case, I can sit with my feet flat on the floor because I am a little bit taller. And you want to make sure that you are at a good angle at the piano. You want to be straight on. So you're not turning, you're not doing anything funky. The other thing is when you sit, you want your arms it's almost like you're an extension of the piano. So you don't want to sit so close that your elbows are tucked into your back, they're too close to your sides. You want to give yourself enough room. You want elbow room. So this for me actually is a little too close. I sit back pretty far, but I also sit back on the very edge of the bench because that's what was comfortable for me. For beginner students, to get them up high enough, you might need to have them sit on a cushion or a book, whatever's going to work best just to get them up a little bit higher because you don't want them playing like this. The other thing, a fun exercise I like to do with my younger students, scrunch your shoulders all the way up to your ears and then drop them. That's where your shoulders should be. A pretty natural feeling way. So scrunch, let them go. That's where your shoulders need to be. If you feel like you're tensing your shoulders, make sure you do that. When I practice piano, I scrunch a whole lot. So those are things that I have to remind myself to do. Okay, so now that we're sitting nice and tall, feet as close to the ground as possible, we're at a good angle, we are ready to begin. So the book talks about all of that in the very beginning, the first couple pages. The other thing we need to talk about is what our hands need to do. So our hands are mirror images of each other. Our hands need to be in a good shape to keep good posture. What we say is pretend like they're C's, you're making C's. Another thing to say is you pretend like you're a cat. Or a fun one, put your hand on your knee, lift your hand up, you got that nice curvature. This is going to promote health, like good health for your hand and your arm and everything, as well as better posture. So that's what we have going on there. So nice round C shape at the piano. Okay, for piano, we give our fingers numbers. So our numbers, our thumbs are 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. This is something that you're going to constantly want to review because it can get kind of confusing since this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to review, wiggle your 1s, wiggle your 2s, wiggle your 3s, wiggle your 4s, and wiggle your 5s. Awesome. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Beautiful. Okay. So on the piano, we have tons of keys, obviously. We have 88 keys. A fun way to start is figure out which one's high, which way's low. So would high be higher, would low be lower? In this case, yes. So high is at the right-hand side of the piano, and then low is at the left-hand side. So we go high, low to high. It's just getting the different types of pitches. And where you are in the piano becomes extremely important when we start reading music on a staff. So, because where it is on the staff determines where you're on the piano. But basically high, low. So, on the piano, if you look, we have sets of 2 black keys and sets of 3 black keys. So 2 and 3. I have a little piano printout to show you. It's a little bit easier. So we have our sets of 2s and our sets of 3s. This can help determine where we are in the piano as well as what notes we have below, which we will talk about today. So in this case, we are starting with our groups of 2s. So anywhere in the piano, find a group of 2. And I want you to put your fingers 2 and 3 on your groups of 2s. So look at your hand. Which ones are your 2s and 3s? 2s and 3s. Perfect. So find 2 groups of black keys. Find 2 groups of 2 black keys. One for your right hand, one for your left hand. So right hand, 2 and 3. Left hand, 2 and 3. So what I want you to do is we're going to start with your left hand, and you're going to go 2, 3 together. So in this case, I'm going to pull my right hand off because we're just doing with our left hand. So 2, 3 together. So working your fingers independently might be a little challenging in the beginning, but that's okay. It's just something you need to work up to. And also, our pinky is always going to be our weakest finger, at least in my experience. So it's going to take a little bit of time to isolate those fingers. So once again, 2, 3 together. Awesome. And then we go down to the next one. Same thing. And we go even lower. And lower again. Awesome. Now we're going to do it with our right hand. So find a group of 2, and we're going to go 2, 3 together. This time when we go 2, 3 together, instead of going lower, we're going to go higher. So go up to the next group of 2. Go up to the next group of 2. And up again. Beautiful. So that's our groups of twos. So that's our very first song in our primer book using our left hand and our right hand. All right, let's flip ahead. We're going to keep going through the book. Now I want you to find a group of 3 black keys with your left hand. So anywhere on the piano, a group of 3. I want you to play them with 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so 2, 3, and 4. Right now we're not going to use our thumb and our pinky just yet, just because it's easier for us to use these fingers on the black keys. Okay, 2, 3, and 4. So now what I want you to do is go 2, 3, 4 together. So, and as you probably guessed, we're going to keep going. So we're going to go 1 lower, 2, 3, 4 together. And 1 more lower. Awesome. Now I want you to find a group of 3 black keys with your right hand. 2s, 3s, and 4s again. Find your group of black keys. We're going to go 2, 3, 4 together again. And this time, like we did with our groups of 2s, it's going to go up instead of down like for our left hand. So 2, 3, 4 together. Up again. Up again. And then the very last one, we just play all the notes together. And that's it. So we've learned our first 4 songs. If we keep going ahead in the book, then we're going to get to start talking about rhythms. But I want to take a pause here and flip to another book real quick. So one of the other books that I use is for adult beginners. It is the Adult Piano Adventures. You start with course 1. This one is spiral bound. There's a lot more in this book. But this one is for adult beginners. This is the book I use for adult beginners. So if you feel like you would qualify in that little area, this would definitely be the book that I would recommend for various reasons. So in this book, and all the books, they show little piano diagrams. The other thing is all of the books review what you've talked about. So if you go home from your lesson and you're a little confused about what we talked about, or say you're teaching your mom how to play along with you, the book will detail everything. But this book, the very first song we have is Amazing Grace. So, and also again, I own this book. All the books I'm showing you today, I own personally. So this Amazing Grace, you are using your black keys again, but in this case, you are using 1 and 5 in your right hand, which we haven't gotten to in the other book yet. So this one details it and jumped both hands right in right away. So this book is a little bit more advanced than the other book, which is good for adults. Okay, so we keep going now. We're going to talk about a rhythm. So the rhythm we're going to talk about today is a quarter note. So a quarter note looks like this. That is a quarter note. Quarter note is all the way filled in with the stem coming up from it. A quarter note gets 1 beat. Another way we can talk about a quarter note is we can call it a ta. Music, we give syllables to different musical sounds. It helps really, really young kids be able to verbalize the different rhythms without having to use their full fun long names. So a quarter note we can also call a ta. Quarter note gets 1 beat. So when you listen to your favorite song and you tap your foot along, that is beat. So beat is what you're tapping your foot along to because it doesn't change, or at least it shouldn't. That is called beat. The words that they're saying on top of the beat, so the melody or the lyrics, that is rhythm because they work together. Beat doesn't change. Rhythm is what's going on top of it. So this is our beat. Quarter notes are our rhythm. But in this case, a nice way to think about quarter notes, they get 1 beat, they get 1 foot tap. So that would be a quarter note. Pretty simple. It's generally what you want to play first. You don't want to play things super fast, as some kids do, but this is generally what you want to start first with. So these, like I said, we call them tas. So now when we talk about our rhythms, if the stem goes up, it's for your right hand. If the stem goes down, it's for your left hand. In the very beginning, that's how we differentiate the two. So in the next song, we are on page 15 of the primer book. It's called The Old Clock. So this one has you playing on 2 white keys, on your groups of 2 black keys. We're not on the white keys yet. And you're playing the notes together, but we're going from right to left, and then on. Another way, so we know that we can tell right hand versus left hand based on where our stem is going. Also in the book, there will be RH and LH. RH stands for right hand, so RH is for right hand, LH is for left hand. That can help you also figure out where you are at. So one of the things that I really like about this book, which I touched on briefly, is it gives you little diagrams of where you are on the piano. So right there, it shows you on the piano where your hands are. This helps guide all beginners, not even younger beginners. It helps guide you to where your hands are on the piano so you have the greatest success. So in this case, it shows us that we're on 2 sets of black keys and that 2 sets of 2 black keys, and there should be a group of 3 black keys in between. So you can pick anywhere you want on the piano. I'm going to pick right here. This is my right hand. This is my left hand. And we're using 2 and 3. So these are all quarter notes in this sense. So if this is our beat, we're going to go right, left, right, left. It's going to stay nice and steady. Okay. So what I want you to do is do your group of 2 in your right hand, and then your group of 2 in your left hand. Go right, left, right, left. So awesome. Now can you play your right hand twice? And then your left hand twice? Can you go right twice immediately into left twice? Awesome. Now we're going to put them together. So we're going to go right, left, right, left, right, right, left, left. Beautiful. Let's try it. Awesome. Now we've done our first official song with both of our hands put together. And that was all using quarter notes, so that's why our rhythm did not change at all. All right, if we keep moving forward in the book, what I want you to do this time is find a set of 3 black keys for your right hand and 3 black keys for your left hand. So I'm going to pick all the way down here. This time, what we're going to do is we're going to play each of our fingers independently from each other. We're not going to play any of them together. You might find that playing your fourth finger is a little hard, and that's okay. All right, so I want you in your right hand to go 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. Let's try it. Okay, now can you go 3, 4, 4? Once again, 3, 4, 4. Awesome. So if we do the whole thing again, it's 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. It is a little bit longer, but you can totally do it. All right, so here we go. Okay, so now in this song, we have a right hand line and a left hand line. The notes do look like they're stacked on top of each other, but there are words in between the lines. So whenever there are words or lyrics in between the 2 different lines, we know that the lines are separate from each other. That's what breaks the 2 lines up. So in this case, we go right hand, and then we read down, we read to our left hand. So it's exactly like how you would read if you were reading a book. You go left to right, and then go down to the next line, left to right, same thing over and over and over. So for this song, we're going to go right hand first, because that's what the song says, and then we're going to go down and do our left hand. And then at this one, it shows you a double bar line. So a double bar line has 2 lines right next to each other. That tells you that it's the end of the song. That's it. We're all done. All right. So we already did our right hand. Now for our left hand, you might have guessed it. It's very similar to the right hand. So our left hand goes 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. Not too terrible. Same thing as the right hand. Let's try our left hand. Okay, so now what we would do, since we practice hands separate, now we're going to put our hands together, meaning that we're going to go right hand straight to left hand. One of the challenges of playing the piano is keeping both your hands on the piano all the time, even when you're not using your hands. So I'm going to demonstrate what that looks like right now as I do the song on page 16. Awesome. Okay, so the next song in the book does talk about repeated fingers. So in piano, a lot of times, if there is a same finger or the same note, if it's the same note and you're using the same finger, they will only write the fingering the first time. So in this case, we have a 2, and then our next quarter note is blank because it's telling you that you're using your second finger again. So those are fun little things that you will figure out as you go through the book and as you go through the book with your teacher. So we're going to keep moving ahead. We're going to go to page 18. So page 18, we are talking about a half note. A half note is another type of rhythm. A half note gets 2 counts or 2 beats. So that was, again, if we were going back to tapping your foot, you're going to have it tapping twice. That's one whole half note. So the other way, so we call quarter notes tas. We can call half notes tas. Pretty clever. So if we were playing quarter notes, 2 quarter notes would fit into a half note. So this is a quarter note. This would be our half note. So it's twice as long. Everything in music kind of breaks up into 2s for the most part. It does get a little bit more complicated than that. So when we hold it down for 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, that's a half note. So in the next song that we have, we're going to add our half notes in. So for this song, I want you to find a group of 3 for your right hand and a group of 3 for your left hand. So my groups of 3s are going to be right here. So again, we're going to start with our right hand. We know because our stems go up and because it says RH. So I want you to go 2, 3, 4. But when you get to 4, I want you to hold it for 2 beats instead of 1. So you're going to play a half note. All right, so 2, 3, 4, and 4 is a half note. Cool. Now we're going to go 4, 3, 2, and this time 2 is going to be the half note. Let's try it. 4, 3, 2, with 2 being a half note. Awesome. Then we're going to go 3, 3, 2, 3. And then this one we play 4 3 times in a row, and the last time it gets 2 beats. Nice. So we can tell how rhythms are different based on what the notes look like. So for quarter notes, it's all the way filled in, and we have our stem. For half notes, they're hollow, and they have a stem. So if it's empty and it has a stem, it's a half note. We get 2 beats. So this song then repeats in your left hand, but instead of going 2, 3, 4, we go 4, 3, 2. So we go climb up like we did in our right hand. So for our left hand, it would be 4, 3, 2 as a half note, so for 2 beats, and then 2, 3, 4 for 2 beats. Try that. And then this part repeats. It's the same as our right hand. So we're going to go 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4. 4 for 2 beats. Awesome. Now I'm going to put the whole thing together for you so you can kind of hear how it would sound all together. So you can definitely hear the difference between our quarter notes and our half notes. All right, this is page 19 of the primer book. Awesome. So that's page 19, practicing our quarter notes and our half notes together in the same song. All right, we keep going in our book. So page 20. Page 20 talks about dynamics for the first time. That's what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about the song, but dynamics are how loud or how soft you are. It's the volume of the music. So for in music, we have a bunch of different dynamics. The first two that we're going to learn are forte and piano. Forte is just a cursive looking F, and piano is a cursive looking P. So forte, what do you think it means? Forte means loud, and piano is the opposite of loud. It means soft. So if we're looking at our piano, how do you think we would play loud or soft? Maybe how hard or how soft we hit the piano? That is the case. So forte, how much weight you have behind it, and piano's the opposite. So the fun thing about dynamics is they occur anywhere on the piano. So you can play really loud up here. You can play really soft up here. It is harder to make it louder up here just because of the way that the piano works. Whereas down here, it's a lot easier to make it louder, but harder to make it softer. So forte, piano. It's just how much weight you put behind your hands. So forte and piano dynamics live everywhere on the piano, not just high or low. Sometimes it's easier to think that loud is low and soft is high, and they exist everywhere because it makes music a whole lot more interesting. So again, fancy F, forte means loud, fancy P, piano means soft. There are dynamics in the middle, which we will talk about a little bit today, but they kind of expand even further than that. All right, the next rhythm we're going to talk about today is a whole note. So a whole note is just an empty circle. That's all it is, empty circle. So if we notice, we keep going up, we keep adding. So 2 quarter notes fit into 1 half note. So how many half notes do you think fit into a whole note? If you guessed 2, you're correct. So there are 2 half notes in a whole note. That's kind of what I said, that everything breaks up into 2s. It gets a little bit more complicated, but for right now, that's how we're thinking of it. So a whole note gets 4 counts or beats. So you can call it a ta. That gets a little long, but that would be the equivalent of calling a quarter note a ta. So if this is our quarter note, these would be half notes. Easy enough. Also, in the primer book, when you learn a new rhythm, it gives the student the opportunity to draw the rhythm and then write the counts in, so they're getting some practice writing it and not just practice verbally saying it or doing it on the piano. The other thing is, a lot of times in the first lesson, you might not get as far as we are right now, just because, or your student might not get as far, just because it is a lot to take in, and when we're teaching it this way, it's easier for me to move on. So your student might not be going as far. So this is kind of like a lesson and a half, a lesson, almost 2 lessons going forward. But why not? Might as well. So we talked about quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes. So quarter notes are filled in with stem, get 1 beat. Half notes are hollow and they get a stem for 2 beats. And then whole notes are just hollow and they get 4 beats. I know that things are reversed right now, so I apologize if it looks a little bit different than what music you're used to. So if we keep moving forward, then we will be on page 22. So we've talked about our 3 different rhythms. We've done our groups of 3s, our groups of 2s, and we've talked about forte and piano. We've learned a lot. All right, if we keep going, so on page 22, we have our very first song that we're going to recognize a little bit more. This song in the book is called Old Macdonald Had a Song. Kind of fun. So for Old Macdonald Had a Song, they give us our little piano to find the keys. We are using a group of 3 for our right hand, so 2, 3, and 4, and a group of 2 for our left hand, so 2 and 3. In this case, our hands are going to be right next to each other. So we're using a group of 3 and a group of 2 that are right next to each other. If we split too far apart, it's not going to sound right. So, got a group of 3 for our right hand and a group of 2 for our left hand. But before we go, I want to point out one thing. On page 22, at the end of page 22, there's this thing where it's a double bar, and then at the end of our double bar, we have 2 dots. Let me show you. Right there. That is called a repeat sign. Repeat tells us to play it again. So in this case, it tells you to go back to the beginning and play it once again. So if we were to talk page numbers, we'd go page 22, then page 23. Repeats just kind of add a little bit extra, and instead of writing things out twice, they'll use a repeat sign. Okay, so find a group of 3 for our right hand, a group of 2 for the left hand, and we're good to go. All right, group of 3, group of 2. This one is going to be a little bit more advanced to explain like this, since you might not have the music in front of you, but we're going to do our best. So old Macdonald had a song. So our right hand, we're going to start right, 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 and then go to our left hand. This is one of the first songs that we have where we jump from our right hand to our left hand, right hand, and we jump back and forth. So to help you recognize these jumps, our right hand says RH and our stems go up. To recognize when it's in our left hand, it says LH and our stems go down. Also, they give us fun little arrows that show you if you're going up or down to help guide your eyes to where you're going. So this one might be a little bit more challenging because we're jumping between our hands, but there are many different things that you can do to help give yourself reminders. You can circle every time it says RH or LH. You can circle every time that there's an arrow. Whatever is going to help you the most, I definitely recommend doing it. But if you get through and you don't need any of the circling, awesome. It doesn't make a difference if you do or if you don't. It's just to help you play as best as you can. Okay, now that we talked about everything going on in the piano, we're going to find our group of 3 and our group of 2. We're going to start with right hand, 2, 2, 2 as quarter notes. So if I just give you a finger number, then that's going to be a quarter note. Otherwise, I will let you know if it's a half note or a whole note. So we have 2, 2, 2 in our right hand. And then we jump down to our left hand, number 3, and we go 3, 2, 2, and then 3 for 2 beats. So left hand. And now we jump up to our right hand. This is the first time we're using a whole note. We're going to go 4, 4, 3, 3, 2. So 4, 4, 3, 3, and then 2 for a whole note. And then we go back and repeat. So I'm just going to play the repeat. Awesome. Now we're jumping to page 23. So we did our repeat and now we're jumping up. So we're going right hand. We're going 2, 2, and then 2 half for a half note. And then that repeats. So we're going to do that twice. So. Excuse me. Okay. So 2, 2, and then 2 for a half note. And then we're going to go 2, 2, 2, 2. And then we jump to our left and go 3, 3, 3, 3. So right hand 2 4 times, left hand 3 4 times. And then the last little bit of the song is the exact same as the beginning. So if you got the beginning, you already got the ending. So we're going to go 2, 2, 2 in your right hand, jump to left hand, 3, 2, 2, 3, right hand, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2. We end with a whole note. Okay, this is the rest of the song. Nice. We have to make sure that we're holding everything long enough so it sounds like our normal song. All right, I'm going to play the whole thing for you so you can hear it all together. All right. Awesome. Okay, that was Old MacDonald Had a Song. So a couple things that I want to talk about before we move on. Old Macdonald Had a Song has different dynamics throughout it. So you can go back through and put those dynamics in. It's something that we can add at the end. Once you become a really great piano player, you're going to add them in faster than we do right now. The other thing about this book is it offers optional different activities. So in this case, on page 23, there's an option to move the notes up higher. Your teacher might have you do that, or you might want to do that. It's up to you and your teacher. I typically don't do that just because it can be hard to move your hands if you're a really young beginner. However, it can be totally fun though. The other thing about these books, another thing that I really like about them is at the bottoms of the pages, there is a teacher duet. I'm going to give you a little glimpse of that right here. The teacher duet allows for the students to play their song and the teacher to play something a little bit more complicated, so they're playing together. They do sound like a lot of fun, and they are a lot of fun, and not all of the songs have it, but some of them do. So if your student gets their book and they're looking through and they're like, wow, that looks really hard, worry not, that is not for them, not yet. That would be for the teacher. Okay, we're gonna keep going. So like I said, this is about 2 lessons in one little chunk. So if you're going back through this again, you might want to go a little bit slower, pause it when you need to, keep moving forward, whatever works best for you. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is the music alphabet. So the music alphabet goes from A to G. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then it repeats A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So on a full 88 key piano, our very, very bottom note is A. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc. All the way up. And then we end on to our last thing is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So we end now, we start on A, end on C. This piano, we're on page 24. The piano diagram, it gives you brackets together all of our little alphabets so you can see how many we have throughout the piano. Okay, now we're going to learn our very first notes. So if we look at page 25, it gives you a little diagram. What I want you to do on that diagram is circle all of your sets of two black keys, and then write C, D, and E on the notes. So they give an example for you. Go through and do all of those. I'm going to do it on the little piano diagram that I showed you earlier. Awesome. Just like that. So I only did one of my groups of twos. So C, D, and E. So on our groups of 2 black keys, if we were to fall down onto our 3 white keys, the one that's lowest is C. That's the same all the way throughout. 2 white keys, down, or 2 black keys, sorry. 2 black keys to 3 white keys, lowest is C. All the way down and all the way up. So this little piano that we have on page 25 shows us where C, D, and E are. What I want you to do now, we're going to start playing with our white keys. Give me fingers 2, 3, and 4. 2, 3, 4. Perfect. Find 2 groups of C, D, and E for me. Let's see almost how low you can go. So I'm going to start right here. So what I want you to do, in your left hand, you're going to go C, D, E. So C, D, and then E for 2 beats. Or we can call them by our finger numbers, which would be 4, 3, 2. This is for your left hand. I want you to do the same thing repeated in your right hand, but this time we're going to go 2, 3, 4. It's still C, D, and E, and then hold E for 2 beats. And we're going to do something fancy, and our left hand's going to cross over our right hand, and we're going to do it again, and then your right hand's going to come underneath and go up to your next groups of C, D, and E. So, and C, D, and E again. Perfect. That's practicing C, D, and E throughout the whole thing. All right, let's turn the page. We're going to be on page 26. So for page 26, we have our first song using C, D, and E, Merrily We Roll Along. And we also talk about steps. So in music, we have different ways to identify how far apart the notes are from each other. So we're going to talk about steps. So steps are keys that are right next to each other, fingers that are right next to each other, 2 and 3, or letters that are right next to each other, like C and D. So C and D, that's a step. So C, D, 2, 3, or they're right next to each other. Can you find another step on the piano? Anywhere on the piano. Use any of your white keys. They're everywhere. You can keep going. So that is a step when they're right next to each other. So the song that they have us doing is Merrily We Roll Along, using our 4 3s and 2s on C, D, and E throughout. So that is a song that uses quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes. That is the first song we're going to practice using C, D, and E. This is something that might sound really familiar to you, so you can kind of use your ear to guide you. However, we're going to keep going. Let me grab a drink of water. You can look over page 26 real quick. Perfect. Okay, let's go to page 27. So page 27, we're learning F, G, A, and B. We're learning the rest of the notes in the piano. We're learning all of them in one lesson. Yay! Okay, on the piano again on page 27, they circle your group of 3 black keys and wrote F, G, A, and B. I want you to do the same exact thing. I'm going to do it on my piano. Okay, so F, G, A, and B. Now we know all of them. Perfect. So in this case, I started with F, but you can write F down here, wherever you want. Ideally, you'll write all of them in. So now we're learning F, G, A, and B. So the way that this song goes is it wants your hands right next to each other. So your left hand would go F, G, and your right hand goes A and B. So they're right next to each other. And then you go up again. Sometimes I have found with really young beginners, it can be challenging for them to put their hands next to each other, their fingers next to each other, because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So however you can practice going F, G, A, B, even if we're using fingers we haven't talked about yet, perfect. Just have them recognize where it is on the piano and go up from there. So you can go. As long as they're able to show you where they are on the piano, you're good to go. All right, let's keep going. So on page 28 is our first song using all of the almost all the notes that we know. So it's called the C, D, E, F, G march. So in this march, we have 5, we're using all 5 fingers because we have 5 notes. So if you put your right hand thumb on C, left hand 5 on C, we go up. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're using all 5 fingers. So this is the first song that we're using our pinkies and our thumbs. So now we're jumping all the way in. For this C 5-finger scale, on page 28, there is a diagram of the piano, like there normally is. The C's are highlighted so you can see where you're starting. The diagrams are nice because it shows you how many keys are in between your 2 hands. So in this case, you should have 2 white keys in between your right hand and your left hand. Those white keys are A and B for those of us that are a little bit more advanced. So in the C, D, E, F, G march, we start with our left hand and then we go to our right hand. So our left hand, the finger numbers are written in except for our repeats, and the note names are written into the note heads. When we play with our left hand, the first time it's forte. Or not the first time. We play with our left hand, it's forte. Right hand, it's piano. I'm going to go through and just play this one for you so you can kind of hear what it sounds like when we're using all 5 notes. Perfect. Another thing, when you're playing forte, I want you to make sure you're not scrunching your shoulders. You or whatever young beginner you have with you, make sure you're not scrunching your shoulders or you're putting a lot of tension behind playing forte. That's not going to be healthy for our hands. It's just how much weight you put behind. So weight and tension are not the same. It's just, if you were to just drop your hand, that would be how much weight. But obviously don't let your hand drop like that too far. Okay. So the other thing I want to talk about with music is structured in ways, we call it measures. So the way that I explain measures is measures are like sentences. At the end of a sentence, you have a period, an exclamation point, a question mark, etc. That's how you know your sentence is done. In music, we know that our little sentence is done because we have a bar line. A bar line separates our measures. So a bar line separates the music. Our measures are what are made up of our bar lines. So in music, each measure should have the same number of beats. So if we look at page 29, if we say how many beats are in the first measure, which is bracketed and says measure, we look through, we count, we have 4 quarter notes. Quarter notes are equal to 1 beat, so we have 4 beats in our first measure. If we look through, do all of the measures have 4 beats in them? The answer is yes, but it can be a little confusing. So if we look at the second measure, so we find our first measure where it says measure, we have a bar line, second measure. We have E, E, F. Quarter note, half note. Is that 4? Our half note, we get 2, and then a quarter note and a quarter note. Yes, 4. So they all have 4. Once you get into more complicated piano stuff, it changes a little bit, but for right now, each measure is always going to have the same number of beats. If it gets funky, it's all split up throughout the music. There's always going to be the same number of beats. So our measures are like our musical sentences, and our bar lines are a punctuation. It helps us in our brain be able to read what's going on in the music without feeling too overwhelmed, per se. Okay, so if you keep going in the book, the next song we have on page 30 is Ode to Joy. This one we talk about another dynamic. It's called Mezzo Forte, MF. Means the book says moderately loud. I like to call it medium loud. So that's medium loud. So it's not, so if you were to sit at the piano, whatever you generally play, it's a little bit louder than that. So if it was my normal tempo dynamic was, it would be, and forte would be, it takes a little bit of practice. So mezzo forte is medium loud. Another exercise that you would do with Ode to Joy is take your pencil and circle all of the repeated notes. It gives you the first 2 examples, and you go through and circle them all so you can see what's repeated and what's not. Okay, if we keep going, we look at page 30. Page 30 is the first time that our hand position changes. So in this case, we're putting both of our thumbs on C. So thumb on C, thumb on C. So we're going to have a lot more white keys in between. But by putting our thumb on C, we're practicing B and A also, which we previously have not played. So C story uses, in your left hand, we have F, G, A, B, C. In our right hand, we have C, C, D, E, F, G. So our left hand, we're much further apart, like I said, and our left hand's practicing the notes that we haven't talked about yet. I'm going to go through and play this one for you. Awesome. Moving your hands, if you have a young beginner, moving their hands might be something that's a little bit challenging. So just help them figure out how to count the white keys, how to use the little diagram. Any little thing that you can do to help them is totally awesome. Okay. So if we're on to page 32, so this is going to be the last rhythm we're going to talk about today. It's called a dotted half note. So it looks like a half note, but there is a dot on the front of it. That dot tells you that it's a little bit longer. So in this case, the dot tells us that our dotted half note is worth 3 beats. So we have our quarter note for 1, half note for 2, whole note for 4, and dotted half note for 3. Those are all the ones we've learned so far. Okay, I'm going to keep moving forward. So once we get to page 30, we start talking about the staff, which is how we read music. So staff is made up of 5 lines and 4 spaces. And where the notes are in the staff tell you where they are on the piano. So we're not going to get too far into this just because it will be a little complicated if you don't have the book. So the staff, 5 lines, 4 spaces again. In piano, we have something called the grand staff. It's 2 staffs stacked on top of each other, and there's a fancy bracket on the end that ties the two together. That's how we know it's for piano. For piano, the top staff is for our right hand, bottom staff is for our left hand, always. So, and then we have, the other thing we're going to talk about is bass clef and treble clef. Bass clef is the fancy clef we use for our left hand. Treble clef is the clef we use for our right hand. The bass clef, they help you identify where the notes are on the piano and on the staff also. Okay, so if we keep looking at page 35, it gives you a diagram of where treble clef and bass clef meet, and then so on and so forth. The one other thing I want to talk about before we end our lesson for today is how to find the middle of the piano. So on your piano, if you have a full 88 key piano, there will be a logo on the piano. In this case, my piano says Boston. So what you're going to do, you're going to go all the way to the very first letter. In this case, it's B, and go down. Mine lines directly up with the C. It should. You might be a little bit off, but I want you to go and fall down, and that should be a C. That C is middle C. That is considered the middle of the piano. That'll be important for you to know when we start reading the musical notes on the staff, because C, middle C, is kind of where we pivot from. So again, find the name of the piano, my case Boston, find the B, go down, that's middle C. That'll be helpful for you to know. You can also use middle C to practice where you are on the piano and go from there. Okay, I know we talked about a lot today. It was a fun first lesson. We got about halfway through the book. Once you get to the reading the staff, some of you or your students might struggle a little bit because it does get a little bit more complicated, but that's okay. We're learning something completely new. Music is like its own language. So the other thing, I know I talked about that there are 3 different books. The other book that I use is the Accelerated Piano Adventures for the Older Beginner. This is book 1. I also own this book. This book is for, I'd say, about for teenagers. The reason why we didn't reference this book a whole lot in this lesson is because this book pretty much jumps in immediately into reading music, which is where we left off in the primer book. So this one is for teenagers just because of where it starts and how it starts, whereas this one is for adults for the same reasons. I definitely recommend this one for adults. It moves a little bit slower, which is perfect for those of us that are super busy and have a lot going on. And this one incorporates songs that are a little bit more popular for adults. This one, lastly, also includes a lot of descriptions. So if you go to your lesson, you go home, you're like, oh, I don't really remember what that meant. It explains everything for you in here at a level which is appropriate for adults. So if you're struggling, you don't remember, this book is perfect. Again, this is great for, it says for the older beginner. Like I said, typically this is a good place to start teenagers or people that are a little bit older. This book might be a little bit too easy. This is a solid medium ground for that. Like I said, this one jumps in a little bit faster, but it's perfect for older beginners. And then the book that we were working out of, again, the primer book. This is perfect for younger beginners. I have started students age 6 in this book, but also if you have someone that's maybe age 7 or 8, this might be a good book to start them in also. You just kind of have to see how the kids go. You might work through this book really fast, so that's something that you would definitely want to talk to a parent about also if you're starting. And Piano Trends Music and Band Company has this book on sale for Make Music Day. The link is in the comments. If you want to purchase it, definitely recommend it. They're super great about shipping and getting it to you on time. And again, if you're interested in lessons, you can fill out the link above in the comments with the request form. If you're interested in taking lessons from me, you can put it in the request form. You can give a phone call, leave a voicemail, send an email, whatever you're interested in. The staff links are also posted above. So if you read through and you're, hey, I really want to take lessons with Amy, please let us know. We'll do our best to get everyone together. Again, the email is info@pianotrends.com. The phone number is 815-477-4266. If you go to your web browser and just type in pianotrends.com, it will take you to the right page. The address is a little bit longer, but it'll redirect you to the right area. Again, my name is Corrin Littlefield, and this is presented by Piano Trends Music and Band Company in participation from Make Music Day Chicago. I hope that you were able to learn a little something about something. Like I said, normally a very first lesson would move a little bit slower and you'd learn a little bit less, but why not get as much in as we can? So I know I have a couple minutes left and I have a couple people that are currently watching. So if you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. If I don't get any questions in the next 2 or so minutes, then we will end the stream a little bit early. But I hope everyone has a fantastic Father's Day to all those fathers out there, and everyone's enjoying the sun when it comes and it goes. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up for today. Beautiful. Okay, I know I said 2 minutes, but we're going to end it a little bit early. So again, my name is Corrin Littlefield for Piano Trends Music and Band Company, offering in person and online. Definitely reach out, give it a shot. If you're unsure about starting piano lessons, I definitely say call, talk to anybody that answers the phone, talk to Tim, tell him, hey, I'm interested, but I'm not too sure. Trying an online lesson might be a great start to work into in person. You can kind of do it on you and your teacher's own schedule, and then you're in the comfort of your own home. It's kind of a nice trade-off, something good to come out of all this. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send them an email, give them a phone call. If you're interested in a specific teacher, let them know. Offer all of the instruments. Definitely check out the website. But yeah, so happy Father's Day, happy Sunday, happy everything to everybody. Happy Make Music Day Chicago. Thank you for tuning in to my private lessons. And thank you especially to Piano Trends for asking me to teach this lesson. It's been a joy working there, and it's been a joy coming full circle, coming back to teach somewhere where I vividly remember looking through the books and taking lessons, and it's really fun to kind of come back and be able to provide music education in a place that I was giving piano lessons. So big shout out and big thanks to Tim and Piano Trends for letting me do this today. Again, sorry for the technical difficulties, doing my best. But again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to Piano Trends Music and Band Company. If you have any questions, give us a phone call or send an email. All right, thank you so much. Bye.